Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the special Sunday Night with Max edition. I was doing a bunch of reading today, and yeah, there's some interesting news out there that could change what we think could happen in October. I know we're all expecting it to be up. Maybe not. I'll link these things together and let you kind of know where we're at and what to look out for, and you know, how things can be short or long term. Anyway, we'll go through it all. So let's get started. So first thing, on the good news side of things, let me move over to that. We have the Fed preferred measurement of inflation, because the CPI is so bastardized at this point, is the PCE index. And it came in as expected at 0.2% increase in August and 2.7% year over year. So pretty much where we thought things would be. So not a huge surprise there. Basically saying the Fed did the right thing by lowering by 0.5%. So that just gives them more ability to lower interest rates. So that's a good thing, because we know that a lowering or an increasing quantitative easing is good for Bitcoin. So keep that in mind as we go through things, because it can be quantitative easing, but with a recession is bad for Bitcoin. Only when we have a soft landing where we either have extremely mild recession where people don't feel it quite as much, or where we don't have a recession at all. We just have this decrease in GDP for a period of time where it's maybe near zero but doesn't go below zero. Yes, I know that's not the measurement of a recession anymore, but let's just assume that it is, okay? So, because it should be. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see kind of how that all pans out when I show you the rest of this stuff. So let's move on to, obviously, unless you've been living in a hole, you know that Hurricane Helene came through and did an enormous amount of damage. Basically, the estimates are $90 billion to $110 billion of damage. I think that seems a little low. That would put us at the fourth most damaging hurricane of all time. Behind, well, Katrina is number one. I forget what number two. There's another article I've got here that shows that. But the key thing is what does this mean to the economy? And from a short-term perspective, it's bad, because you're going to have short-term unemployment as people can't return to work. There's no power. There's no transportation. Roads are closed. There's massive flooding, massive damage to businesses and such. So it's going to lead to short-term economic decreases as a result of the hurricane, probably in the range of about 5 billion to 10 billion, somewhere in that range. But when you look at the long term, the government's going to help out one way or another. All this stuff needs to get rebuilt. It's either through insurance, through just plain old investment, or the government. But all of that will lead to increased economic growth in the long term. But like I said, we're talking about the short term. What's it going to do between now and the end of the year to the economy, with the amount of damage that's out there? And it won't be good. We're talking, like I said, somewhere in the range of 5 to 10 billion. And that's not insignificant. So that's bad. But wait, there's more. We'll come back to the hurricane in a minute, because I want to hit on the last subject last. But the other thing that is out there is the looming Longshoreman's strike. This could be extremely bad. Could cause possible stagflation because it would increase prices, but also lower economic impact. They're talking $5 billion a day effect to the economy by this strike. That, if it went on for as long as the last time the eastern side of the longshoremen's went on strike, they were on strike for 7 weeks. 7 weeks. Nobody stepped in at that point. What people are wondering at this point is if President Biden is going to step in and basically say, nah, sorry, you guys can't go on strike. You have to go back to work. Now, if we look at something that has been in the recent past, we can look at the railroad strike and what President Biden did in that situation. And after 11 days, he called a halt to the strike and brought the guys back to work and said, you guys have to go back to work. You can't not go back to work. So kind of wondering if he'll do the same thing in this situation as he did in the last situation. If that is, yes, it will have an effect on the economy, but what people are mainly scared about is this long-term possibility of a strike. Right now, the two sides aren't even talking. That's what's crazy. How important this is that this stuff gets resolved, and they're not even sitting down at the table. I don't know what the laws are specifically around it, but President Biden is really encouraging them to basically move this to collective bargaining, basically bringing in an arbitrator to bring the two sides together to resolve their conflicts. I know one of the big things that is a sticking point is, well, we'll go back to this one, is that they want to have a guarantee that there will be no automation in jobs that are normally run by people. So cranes, for instance, is one of the things they've talked about. And that will be, in my opinion, detrimental to the U.S. economy, because you need to not stop advancement in technology. It will be a good thing overall. Yes, longshoremen, if we need fewer of them, fine, then maybe, but bottom line is that over the course of many years that this would take to increase this, there's going to be basically elimination of jobs through just people retiring or moving on to something else, because longshoremen do long on. They're not all going to be there for a really long period of time. So I have a real problem with them having that as a sticking demand as to why they're not coming down to the table. Now, hopefully that's just like a bargaining chip where they'll give into that if the other side gives into all their other demands, which is possible. But bottom line is they need to sit down at the table, because if this thing goes 7 weeks, yeah, it's going to have a major, major effect on the economy. And the fourth quarter will definitely be in a recession at that point if it goes that long. Like I said, with all that said, I have a feeling that through what Biden did before with the railroad strike, he's trying to let the two parties resolve it without destroying the country. Yes, there might be a strike, but making sure it's a short-lived strike. And if it's not going to be a short-lived strike, that they just say, well, then forget it. I'm forcing you back to work. You guys need to sit down and resolve it otherwise, but it's not going to be through a strike, because the longshoreman union isn't sitting down at all with the longshoremen, or the ports, basically. So anyway, but this affects all ports between Texas and Maine. So this is not just the East Coast, it's also the Gulf Coast as well. So nothing coming in from the Atlantic has anywhere to land if they go on strike. I know for where I work, I know that they have been making plans. They knew that this was a possibility, and they've diverted loads to the Pacific ports. So a lot of companies have done this. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects any type of backlog on the Pacific ports with the extra volume that's coming in through there. So any way you look at it, there's going to be a certain amount of disruption to the supply chain. And we all know that that's a bad thing from, you know, the pandemic. So, yeah, with that said, you know, so we have that looming, which is really, really possibility to be really, really bad. Although, like I said, I believe that the president probably will intervene like he did with the railroad strike. Could be wrong, but I always look to see past what the person's done in the past to try to predict what they're going to do in a very similar situation. Although this one has even more repercussions than the railroad strike did. Now, the last thing, and this is the worst thing, although in some cases wouldn't be a bad thing, because it could cause electronic shortages again. So what we have now, let me find the tab. I don't have that many tabs up on this screen, as you can see. So I'm not, oh no, I guess you can't see my tabs, but there aren't that many. But so, oh, that's not what I wanted. Where is it? Well, this one talks about it. So we'll just go here. Basically you have the world's deposits of quartz all being mined out of North Carolina, accessed via a single road. We all know what's happened in North Carolina. These mines are stranded right now. They are stranded. There is no road in or out of this thing. Have no idea how long they cannot mine for. But if this goes on a long period of time, because it's flooded and such, and I scoured the internet to try to find any type of, you know, definitive answer as to the condition. All I know is that this area received more than 2 feet of rain. Yes, you heard me. 2 feet of rain fell. 24 inches of rain. That's horrible, especially in a fairly mountainous area, or hilly area, I should say. Is obviously that water is going to be running down hills, possibly landslides, could be all kinds of things. Again, there's still a lot of things that we don't know about all the damage from the hurricane at this point. But like I said, what we do know is that that area is cut off. There's no road in or out at this point. And if that we can't get the quartz from that mine that's required for semiconductor manufacture. Okay, in order to make the wafers, the very base wafers, they need the quartz in order to make the crucibles that are required to make the silicon for the wafers. So I'm not sure if I got that totally right, but it's required. It's now, could they find a workaround? Sure. But that's going to be a significant delay. Now, why are we depending upon one single mine for the entire world's supply of semiconductor of this one this one part, this one piece? I don't know, but this is the best supply of quartz, the purest supply of quartz. So that's why this is like imperative. Because if this goes on for 6 months where they can't get quartz out of that mine, or they're significantly held back because of all the damage that's done up there, we're going to have a shortage of semiconductors, and they're going to have to ration it for the most important things. What'll be interesting is who's going to deem what's the most important. You know, our car chips going to be the most important because we can't manufacture cars. Are Blackwell GPUs for the AI market going to be deemed the most important? who is going to have either the responsibility or the power to define what is the most important? Because that's going to be where it's going to become really interesting, because company like NVIDIA, Apple, all these people that go to TSMC to make their chips, TSMC is going to be the one that has to make those decisions, and they are a public company. So public companies are responsible for maximizing shareholder return. That's their responsibility. How they do that is up to them, but that's their responsibility. So if they are getting the most profit out of making AI GPUs, like the L40 or all the really high end ones, 48 gig of memory and up, heck, even the 5090s, which now are come out that they're going to be 32 gig of RAM in them, so up another 8 from the 24. What's going to become the most important? They're going to have to ration if this is the case. So that could become really, really bad. And anybody who's thinking about selling their GPUs, if you have the ability to hold on to them, I would say wait at least a month. Wait at least a month to see how this is all going to pan out. Because maybe not like 4070 and 580s or anything like that. But I mean, a GPU is a GPU. If someone needs a GPU, they're going to be willing to pay a lot more for it than they were when they could just buy one off the shelf. So, obviously if you have 3000 and 4000 series GPUs, hang on to them. Wait until, if you're planning on selling them, wait until the demand and the shortages really become, up there, and then go to sell them, because you'll be able to get your greatest return on them. The other part of it is that of the GPU mineable coins, at least we should not see the increases in hash rate as much as we have seen in the past. So it should level that off. So as the price of coins goes up, if it goes up, obviously the economy has something to do with that. But if the coins go up like they normally do during this period of time between the Bitcoin halvings, then our returns will go up quite a bit from mining. And obviously, if you are in AI, we've seen the demand for AI increase again and again and again. It's just right now that the supply is growing a little bit faster than the demand at this point. But if you start to see this shortage and the demand keeps growing, we're actually going to make more money on that AI workloads if there's a shortage. So that may seem far-fetched, but it really isn't. That area, like I said, I scoured the internet. I know we're only a few days after the hurricane, so nobody's been able to get up there or verify anything at this point, or at least I couldn't find any verification. But it's bad. It's very bad, and unless they can figure out a way to be able to start up mining of that quartz within the next couple of weeks, it's going to eventually trickle down in about, they were saying about 6 months is when we would start to see an effect in the electronics available for purchase. So only 6 months. That's not that long. That's not that long at all. So this is something to definitely keep your eye out for. As far as what's going to be happening with this quartz mine, even more importantly than any of the other things I talked about. I mean, certainly the Longshoreman strike, definitely very important. But like I said, my prediction is they go on strike. They either resolve within the first 10 days or they don't. And if they don't, then President Biden is going to put a stop to it and force them back to work so that it won't have an absolutely horrible effect on the economy. But we'll see. Maybe if it gets to day 7 or 8 and he sees progress, he may let it continue. But at any point where they're not showing progress or they're not sitting down, I think he's going to put the hammer down. Basically use the Taft-Hartley Act in order to bring a stop to the strike. So I think that may be a little overblown, but this Quartz thing is not. It's definitely not. And maybe it is if we find out that it's not as bad. But like I said, 24 inches of rain. They have seen parts of North Carolina that have never been underwater that are now underwater. Like I said, I've heard of some areas getting 24 inches of rain. Yes, I have, but not North Carolina. They're 300 miles away from the ocean. 300 miles. Typically 300 miles is a good enough distance. And oh, by the way, the eye didn't come anywhere near them. I don't know if you guys saw the radar of the hurricane before it even came on shore. It was bringing rain, huge amounts of rain into North Carolina before it even came on shore in Florida. So yeah, this is, I personally think that number 4 on the list, it won't be number 4. Number 3 is only 113 million. So it's not that hard to say that, okay, it might be more than 110, but I could see this certainly being double, which would make it the most damaging hurricane of all time. I mean, you have Atlanta that was hit by this thing with tremendous amounts of rain, tremendous flooding. Yeah. So, alrighty, that is what I came here to talk about. I'm going to go back to the chat and see what you guys have to say about it. In fact, I didn't even have the chat up. I wasn't even looking at it. But I appreciate you guys all being here. Let's see if we can take a quick rundown. Vinny Del Greco was first. 10 minutes to midnight. Dom G. Burn. Nick the best. Let's see. Red Panda's here. Travelers Travels, The Toxic Miner, Shides. Let's see who else. I know I saw a Hawk because I was scrolling up. I saw that he was our goat is here. Geek of all trades. It's a fucking goat. Steven Cicero, Offshore Miner, Strange Tamer, All Set, Automatic Beats, Valley Crypto, love that one. Canadian Miner, Cliff Lechner, Sundays with Sax now. What? Ready for the saxophone, Solo Max. Oh, I see. Got it. Alliteration. Little slow on that one. Nice. Second TL, Tech Bandit, Jean-Francois, POW Mining, Tains, Network Bits. Yes, Sunday night stream. Although, the reason why I did a stream instead of doing a video was just to piss off DJ. For anybody that saw a stream, you know why it said that. Smash the like bros. Really, smash the like bros. But he's also here. Let's see who else. Carl Coate. Gordon Murray. S. Chang. Hadn't seen you in a while. Good to see you. I'm scrolling down. Static. I already said Hawk. Bacon, Eggs, and Hash is on the premise. Well, not on the premises, but in the chat. And if I missed anybody else, I'm trying to scroll down, and I'm just going to go back up and look at all the people that tagged me in the chat. If you want me to read your chat, please tag me. Network Vic says, we want election predictions, please. No, this is a non-political chat at video. So anything I just said about President Biden had nothing to do with politics. It had to do with what he was going to do. Not whether it was right or wrong, just what he was going to do and what effect that would have. That's it. Policy, not politics. Let's see here. So I'm scrolling back up. Sunday Fun Day, Shide says. All right, let me scroll back down now. Get everybody's. Joker Miner says, oh, Joker Miner's here. I missed him. Ooh, that's a bad one to miss. We supposed to go to Asheville, North Carolina this Christmas. Well, yeah, that It's 3 months from now, but I don't know. There's going to be a lot of work to do. I don't know where you're going there, but I would definitely find out what their situation is. All right. And Joker Mess, I'm trying to watch football, going live a day early. I'm still going live tomorrow. This was, to me, so important, especially the Quartz story, that honestly, anybody who's going into October thinking that it's a guarantee, yep, we're going up in October. I don't know. I really don't. I don't think so. I truly don't think so. Not until we get some of these unknowns figured out. Maybe towards the end of the month, but right now there's so many unknowns. The Longshoreman strike, if they go on strike, that's definitely going to be a negative for the market. The markets are going to take a hit. The Quartz thing, until that gets resolved, that's going to take a hit. I mean, that affects the world economy of microcircuitry, semiconductors, all of that. So yeah, right now, I think there is more downward pressure on the market right at this moment than there is upward pressure. Plus, we've kind of been in this Goldilocks time where we keep hitting new highs, like every week. We keep hitting, heck, every day sometimes. We keep hitting new highs when the economy is not doing well. So I don't know. I think we're in for an October surprise for economics, not politics, but for economics. Just be careful. Don't assume that October is going to be a good month for crypto. I could see it being a bad month for crypto, and then a lot of this gets resolved, hopefully. Obviously the big unknown, well, there's a lot of unknowns, but I think the one real unknown is the Quartz mine, which could affect the world as far as semiconductor production, at least until they find another solution to using something else for the crucibles. So we'll see. Let's see what else. Who else said something? All right. Thank you, Hawk, for being a good mod. Appreciate that. Let's see, anybody else tag me? I don't see anybody else tagged. M2 go up. So, I mean, the kind of the big thing with all of this is we have a shortage of products coming in from the Atlantic. Okay, some of it's already been diverted. We know that to the Pacific. But again, that could be slowed down. Bringing stuff in, they still have only a certain amount that they can bring in, so there might be a backup on the Pacific ports as a result. So what does that do? That reduces economic growth because we can't get this stuff into this country, meaning there isn't as many sales. If you don't have the products coming in, you can't buy them. Therefore, reduced economic activity, okay, which could lead to lower interest rates, right? Except the problem with that is if these products aren't coming in, you now have a decrease in supply with the same demand. What does that mean? Supply and demand. Okay, that means prices go up. So now you have this influence on inflation, a bad influence on inflation, so the Fed can't cut. Basically, what you have there is you have what's called stagflation. You have increases in prices because of decreases in supply, regardless of what the reason is, but a decrease in supply. And the Fed will have this inability to cut interest rates at that point because of, in fact, it might even have to raise interest rates. But then you have the economic side of things. So I'm really curious to see which way they go because they've always focused their interest rate cuts on inflation or PCE, whichever your preferred measurement is. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do because this is a little bit of a new conundrum for them. Like I said, but hopefully they get that figured out relatively quickly, and it has minimal effect on the economy. So we will, yes, Bacon, Eggs, and Hash has it. Yep, scarcity of product. Let's see. Old people. What's the old? Did I say old people? I didn't say anything about old people. Let's see. What else? Static Shark Hawk. Yeah, they are. This ain't my first either. It's crazy how little people prepare for them. Oh, yeah. Oh, and by the way, we have another one coming. Well, we don't know if it's coming because right now the spaghetti plots, it's a technical term actually. The spaghetti plots for the hurricane, for what they think is going to become a hurricane, which by the way, this one's going to be Captain Kirk, Hurricane Captain Kirk, if it becomes a hurricane. This one could be coming to the US as well in kind of the same general area. But like I said, right now the spaghetti plots are kind of all over the place. It could basically cross over near, like over the Yucatan, and then I don't know what you call that little area between the United States and the Yucatan, but that like little bay area, it could like derp around there for forever, it looked like. So that's one of the spaghetti plots is there. And then there's a number of spaghetti plots that take it all the way from Texas to Florida. And they're actually even in some spaghetti plots that take it directly across Mexico and into the Pacific. So right now they have very little idea where this is going to go because it's still got a long way to go. We're talking probably a week to a week and a half before it would threaten anywhere. And until it gains intensity like they think it's going to, and where that happens, they're not going to have a really good idea on where it's going to go. So, all right, let's see what else you guys have to say. Goat says, but what are the linguini plots showing? Very well played. Well played, sir. Well played. Hawk says, the one that New York wasn't even that bad, and it decimated Coney Island. Northern states definitely aren't prepared. Florida's grid isn't bad. So yes, Sandy was actually currently number 4 in damage. But again, it depends on where the hurricane goes as to the amount of damage. This one, because of the amount of area that the damage covered, that's why it could really, really exceed some of these other hurricanes. Because really the only major city it hit, and the wind wasn't as big of a factor, wasn't really a factor there. It was just the amount of rain, is Atlanta. So everything else was a smaller city. Tallahassee, I know, was affected. And then what's between Perry, Florida, and Atlanta, I mean, you've got a bunch of smaller cities. So the actual hurricane effects was in less populated areas. So that was at least a benefit. It could have been so much worse. So much worse if it crossed somewhere. But with that said, also all the way up and down the west coast of Florida, they had tremendous storm surge. I know Tampa had a tremendous storm surge and got a lot of flooding as well. And evidently people didn't really believe that was going to happen. I've actually seen some videos where Teslas were left sitting in salt water and actually caught fire as a result. I don't know the science behind it. I don't know if it's true. I just saw the videos. So I'm sure the salt water can't be good for it. That's for sure. Let's see. Travel says, check out Pete and Bass. I was saying it's like me and you rapping old people. Oh, got it. Is there any good news? I am not here for good news. Good news doesn't get good views, so I'm here for bad news. We were talking about this last night, that bad news gets way more views than good news. I did say the good news at the beginning. The good news was the PCE, personal consumption index, was on track for what they thought it was going to be, 2.7%, year over year, 0.2%. for the month of August, that's good news. That's what the Fed wants to see in order to be able to continue these rate decreases. So fingers crossed that all this other stuff is all just overblown and not a big deal, because the strike gets resolved or doesn't go into effect at all. It's going to go into effect. I truly believe that they're going to go on strike. The question is how long. So hopefully it isn't for a long period of time. But if they do go on strike, that is going to have an effect on the market. So, but the good news is the PCE. Okay, so you want me to focus on that? The PCE is good. PCE is good. But I can't help it. October, sorry. It's not going to be good from a market perspective. Unless towards the end of the month, things get resolved. And that's going to be good news and we'll give it a little extra punch. But we're talking, I think, 2 weeks out. So could have some major pain in the next couple weeks if all the bad possibilities come to fruition. We will see. Yeah, Tampa is pretty big. It is a major city. So it did, like I said, did get some major flooding in Tampa. So a lot of damage in Tampa. I know Fort Myers Beach was also flooded. Although, let's be serious. If Fort Myers Beach sees a 3 to 5 foot storm surge, it's going underwater. I mean, it's flat. So a lot of the border islands were significantly damaged, even while they hadn't been completely rebuilt from the last time the hurricane affected them over there. But yeah. And like I said, hurricane season is not over. We have Joyce, which appears like it's going to turn north. It looks like it won't affect land, but there's no guarantee on that. Still too far out. Basically about halfway between us and Africa at this point. And we'll see what this area that could become Kirk will end up doing. Let's see what else. I wasn't planning on streaming too long tonight, but if you guys got any questions for me, feel free to go ahead and ask. Oh, one thing I did want to show. Hang on. So I watched Mining King's video. If you haven't seen Mining King's video, go watch it. Because he explains why. But I wanted to see what the 4060 Ti looked like for VAST. And it's pretty interesting. So from a verified perspective, these two chart lines right down here, the top chart line is the supply. The bottom chart line is how many are rented. And here's the actual raw numbers. 26 are rented and verified. 5 are available and verified. So of the ones that are free, they're all at 9.3 cents. But the ranges of the ones that are actually rented are 8.2 to 12 cents. So 8.2 cents to 12 cents. So that's the range. So even if you just said it was like 10 cents, heck, let's even just do the math real quick. Bring this up here. So if we look at 0.1 times 24 times 30, and get your monthly. So you make about $72 a month. So if this costs, say, maximum $400, I'm going to just divide it by 400 and then do the reciprocal. You're still talking about under 6 month payback just for the GPU. Obviously, you need to have a computer to put it in, but just for the GPU itself, your break-even point is less than 6 months. So it's pretty intriguing, and it is a lower cost to get in. It's going to be the lowest cost 16 gig memory card or higher by far, your 4060 Ti's. So pretty interesting play with that. And I know that King has had a lot of luck with this. I've stuck with the 4090s myself, but may at some point maybe diversify a bit and go into some 4060 Ti's just to see. Because I should have maybe 1, maybe 2 computers I could give up some space to, better cards. I mean, I've got 3060 Ti's on VAST, and they're getting rented for like $130. So it's and those cards have been paid off long ago. So $130 a day, not so bad. So, but I didn't intend this to be on that. Sent link in Discord from Traveler's Travels. All right, let me see what his link is. Let me see. Oh, that's the Pete and Bass. I'll look at that offline. Got it. All right. Yeah, I was just looking at somebody else that had sent me a message. All right. Let's see. Patrick Murphy. Any idea if or how the AMD Radeon Instinct M250 do? I have no idea. I am not an AMD guy. I have literally no idea how the AMD GPUs do. Sorry. I made the switch to NVIDIA a long time ago because while in the beginning, I view this as more of a hobby, still wanted to make some money, obviously, but I enjoyed the tinkering. Now, it's not that I don't enjoy the tinkering. I just have a lot more things to tinker with. So I don't want to tinker with any single one of them for long periods of time. I'd rather set, forget, let it run, only fix it when it needs to be fixed. So, yeah. Let's see. One other thing. No, I can't do that, but I can show this over here. Hang on one second. One of the other things, and I'll talk about this a little bit tomorrow night. But I got to put this on privacy mode. Come on. There we go. This is the wonderful dashboard that has been created by SecondTL. So thanks to him. But I now have a Cumulus node up, and it is currently running on my Unraid system. So I actually did a virtual machine on Unraid. Typically, people don't use, from what I've seen, typically people don't use Unraid for VMs, but it works. It works. It was really confusing as to, I ran into a lot of problems when I was doing it, but that one I do plan on putting a video together of going through every single step where I ran into an obstacle and what the obstacle was and how I figured out what the right setting was. Some of the stuff was stupid, like just flat out mistake on my part. And I should have known better. And other things were, I don't know how Unraid sets things and I don't know how they define things. So just kind of have to play around with things and figure it out. There's a finite number of settings. I mean, for that matter, there's a finite amount of Powerball combinations, but this is not quite as bad as the number of combinations for the Powerball. At any rate, but I have that up and running, so definitely happy to see that. I'm also probably going to put a pre-search node on there. My pre-search node that I have on Pecunia right now, that is coming to an end October 13th. And the reliability of Pecunia, when it comes to a reliability score for pre-search, they assign a reliability score based upon how well you fulfill the requests. It was 48. When I was running on Flux, I was somewhere between 75 and 80 all the time. This is 48. That's pathetic. And it affected my return. So definitely not going to do that again. Definitely going to stake all my pre-search. The other thing I'll be hitting on is pre-search has made some changes and the node returns have come down, which is another reason why I'm not looking for another staking hosting site because the amount of return you get on a pre-search, while the number that you get is fairly high, it's like 10 to 12%. That's not a bad return. The problem is that amount is so low because pre-search has been coming down. I have 12 1,000 pre-search, and they're worth just over $100 at this point. So if it's 10%, that means it's going to be $10, maybe $15 a year. Well, with Pecunia, it costs $6 for 6 months. At that point, you're spending all your money to do it, plus the return you're getting from Pecunia due to their the bad score that you get with them. Not going to put it back on them. So I'm going to run it home. So I'll be probably putting that on Raid as well. I've never run a pre-search node, so this will be new for me. Second TL says, by the way, update the website on the weekend to include Fluxbase in all the calculations. So API or whatever now includes all 10 APIs. Interesting. Okay. Oh, you're going to make the change. Oh, so you're going to update it this coming weekend, or you just updated it, second TL? Because I was looking at that and I was kind of like, wait a minute, I think this might be a little short on the Nimbus node. I was thinking it might be a little bit higher than that. I'll wait for second TL to come back with an answer on that. But I did cash in all my parallel assets that I have down here. Basically about half of that amount. So it's like 600 and something, and then you have to pay like a whole bunch of Flux. So one of the nice things that you can do now is if you accumulate all of these parallel assets, you can do them all in one fell swoop for one price of only Flux, and they take care of everything. So instead of having to keep all these like little amounts of all the different parallel assets in order to make sure that you can get them out of their chain, you don't need to do that. So that's what I did in my particular situation. I believe it cost me just short of 100 Flux to do that, and I ended up coming out with 533 Flux. So yeah, got me to where I needed to be to run another Cumulus node. All right. Second TL, are you still there? Waiting for an answer on that. Maybe he's a little behind. Joker Meyer says, post link to the site, please, and thanks. Are you saying this site? It's just fluxnode.app.run on Flux. And then you put in your address. There you go. There's the link. So definitely, I love this site. And as you can see, I did give them a little bit of a contribution, giving me a little medal there. So not patting myself on the back at all is the least I could do, considering all the work he's put into this thing. So hopefully I'm not the only one that has given him a little bit. Alrighty, well, oh, you're welcome, Joker. Alrighty, guys, well, like I said, I wasn't planning on going too long. Well, heck, it's almost been 50 minutes, but wasn't even planning on going that long. Second TL, shoot me a message. I'm kind of curious, or maybe put it in my Max Voltage channel in Discord as to whether or not it currently includes the Flux base, whether that's already been included or whether it's to be included. Alrighty, guys, that's all I got for you tonight. Appreciate you guys all coming out. I'll be heading over to Discord in a little while. Maybe play some games. I do have some work to do tonight. But yeah, appreciate you guys all showing up. You guys have a wonderful night. Yes, Goat, I am still going on tomorrow. I am. The wording means it has been done now. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure because to me it still looks like it might be a little short. Yeah, I'm making obviously with those two, but that's about the same as I was making, I thought, last week. I could be wrong. So, alrighty, guys, that's it. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you guys all for being here, and hopefully I will see you all tomorrow night on Mondays with Max. All right, have a good night, everybody. The General is out. See you later.